Hey everyone, it's Sekaar, and today we're going to be going over my Stamina Dragonite build that I have been using lately for Update 41, aka the Scions of Ithelia Chapter. Before we get started real quick, I started up another brand new YouTube channel where I just have Battlegrounds. I'm going to be posting daily, so if you guys like some Battleground content, the link will be in the description. The channel for that is just Sekaar BGs. I'd appreciate everybody going over and subbing to that. We just got over 100 subs on that channel, and that channel is less than a week old, so thank you guys for all the support over there. If you guys want to go over and subscribe to that real quick, I would highly appreciate that. I really would. So guys, real quick before we get started also with this build, I did not come up with this build. I wanted to kind of put that as a disclaimer before we get started. Twitch chat was like, hey, you should try and run this build. And I ran it and I liked it, so I don't know if this is any other content creators build. If it is, I apologize for not giving them credit because I don't really watch other people's videos, but if it is, all the props to them. It's a pretty strong build and I think it's a lot of fun. So let's get started with it. We are going to be an Imperial on our Dragonite. In my opinion, Imperial is one of the best in slot races for Dragonite. I would go either Imperial or Orc. I just really like that 6% reduced cost on all of your abilities on Imperial. I just think that's really good for your overall sustain. Also, for our attributes, we're going to have 9 points into Magic and 55 points into Stamina to give us a max Magic pool of 16.4k, a max Health pool of 32.4k, and a max Stam pool of 25.1k. But as you can see down here, we have Depth Dealers on, so all of that will be increased over time. I'll get to that eventually, though. We're also going to be running the Warrior on our guy as our Mundus Stone. On our guy, what am I saying already? So our Mundus Stone is going to be the Warrior. It's going to increase our overall weapon damage, so that's going to increase our overall damage and our healing as well. And then we're also going to be Vampire Stage 3. Vampire Stage 3 is huge for that tankiness. That Undeath passive is absolutely massive. So moving on to our gear, we're going to be using Bloodspawn as our monster set because that is DK in general. Bloodspawn and DK just go hand in hand. A heavy reinforced helmet and a medium impenetrable shoulder. Bloodspawn, that's going to give us a line of stam recovery. Then when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate and increase your physical and spell resistance by 3,700 for 5 seconds. So that's huge for your overall tankiness, and that's huge for your overall ulti gen, which also in turn helps your sustain. So Bloodspawn is just really the best in slot choice for any kind of Dragonite in general, in my opinion. Also, so our front bar set is going to be Kind Marcher's Cruelty. This is going to be a heavy reinforced chest piece. This is a heavy set, so that's why we're using a heavy chest for this. So what we're doing here is we got a line of max health, stam recovery, armor. And then when you deal direct damage, you apply one of 5 random major debuffs to enemies within 8 meters of you for 18 seconds, and that can occur once every 8 seconds as well. So the eligible buffs for that are Major Breach, Major Cowardice, Major Defile, Major Maim, and Major Vulnerability. So that really hurts your enemies no matter what you have on them. I mean, you already have Major Breach on this build because you have Noxious on here, but regardless, those other 4 are huge, and it really helps your overall damage, and I have been absolutely just cutting through people with this build. It is a lot of fun using Kind Marchers. It's really the first time I've actually used it seriously, and I actually have a fun time with it. We're also going to be using Bracers of the Trainee in medium as our hands in Impen. So we have 1 extra slot in this build, so using One Piece Trainee is a great way to get your max health up as much as possible. And we're also using a light sash of Daedric Trickery Impen. This is going to be our back bar set. Daedric Trickery is going to give you a line of max health, max stam, max magic, and then when you deal damage, you gain 1 of 5 random major buffs for 21 seconds every 9 seconds. So that is a huge way to stack your buffs as well. So you can get either Major Expedition, Protection, Mending, Heroism, or Vitality. So it's going to either make you fast, tanky, give you a lot of healing, or give you a lot of ulti gen, which are all great things for your Dragonite. Especially Heroism, especially for the healing as well, Protection, Mending, all that stuff is huge, and it's just really one of the best things. So I'm pretty sure this is like a casino kind of build. I think that's what I heard somebody calling it at one point, because you know, you kind of get that random buff and debuff on Trickery and then Kind Marchers. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot. We're also using heavy reinforced legs for Kind Marchers as well, and then medium impenetrable boots of Daedric Trickery as well. Impen is going to increase your overall critical resistance as well. And then for our jewelry, our mythic is going to be Death Dealer's Fate and the infused trait with a weapon spell damage enchantment on it. So Death Dealer is basically every 2 seconds that you're in combat, you're going to get a stack of escalating fate up to 30 stacks max, and that's going to give you 88 magic, stam, and health every stack. And so that's going to basically give you, when you're at full stacks, an extra 2,600 max health, magic, and stam. So it increases your overall stats a lot and it makes you a lot more beefy. So in my opinion, it's one of the best mythics in the game. Also, moving on to our rest of our jewelry, we're going to be using another Kind Marcher's ring in the infused trait with a weapon spell damage enchantment on it. And then also we're going to be using a necklace of Daedric Trickery infused with a weapon spell damage enchantment on it. Then our front bar weapons are going to be dual-wield maces of Kind Marcher's Cruelty. Our main hand is going to be Nirnhoned with a shock damage enchantment on it. And our offhand is going to be sharpened with a... I have a poison damage enchantment on there. I do not need a poison damage enchantment on there. Honestly, put something else on there. Put like an absorb stam or maybe even like a frost damage enchantment on there because you do not need poison. Wow, this build has been actually slaying and I'm not even at max potential with my glyphs either, so... Wow, that's awesome. I really actually didn't even notice that. Cool. All right, yeah, don't use a poison damage enchantment on it. Use something like Frost or like, ooh, Oblivion. Just use something, just not poison, because you already proc poison a lot on this build. And then also our back bar is going to be Ice Staff of Daedric Trickery, defending with an increased weapon and spell damage enchantment on it. So moving on to our champion points real quick, we're going to be using Untamed Aggression for our blue tree. Ironclad. Actually, you know what? I'll go over here. Untamed Aggression, Ironclad, Master at Arms, Wrathful Strikes. Our red tree is going to be Sustained by Suffering, Survival Instincts, Celerity, and Pain's Refuge. And our green tree, what we really care about, Breakfall. It's not a passive, it's not a slottable, but make sure you have that in. Rationer, and then Liquid Efficiency. All right, so moving on to our skills. Also, we're going to be using Orzorgas as our food. That's going to increase our overall max health and our stam and magic recovery. And also, we're going to be using tripods as well. I just ran out of my normal ones, so I'm just using the crown ones. So tripods are really going to help your overall just sustain and just, yeah, sustain. So moving on to our skills, our main source of burst damage is going to be Molten Whip, but you're going to want to make sure that you have 3 stacks of Seething Fury when you have that active. So basically what Molten Whip does is whenever you activate a different Ardent Flame ability while in combat, you're going to gain a stack of Seething Fury, increasing the damage of your next Molten Whip by 20% and increasing your weapon and spell damage by 100 as well. So any Ardent Flame ability are going to be these 3 abilities towards the end here. So whenever you cast one of those in combat, you're going to get a stack of Seething Fury. Make sure you get those 3 stacks and your Molten Whip will hit a lot harder. So honestly here, I'll actually have to be in combat, right? Yeah, never mind, I have to be in combat. I was going to show you guys, but I have to be in combat. And then Shattering Rocks is going to be your CC on this build, so whenever you're ready to line up that burst damage, hit them with Shattering Rocks and into Molten Whip, and that is a great source of damage because they're also taking a little bit of damage when they break free as well on this, and you're healing too, so I mean, look, this is a great CC to have. We're also using Flames of Oblivion, which is a nice sort of sustained pressure on your build, but also on top of that, you're going to be getting Major Prophecy and Savagery on your build at all times, so it's going to increase your weapon and spell critical by 2,600. And then I've been using Venomous Claw lately. I don't know if it's my favorite ability in the world, but it does add some nice little bit of sustained pressure onto your builds when you add both Venomous Claw and the Noxious Tick to them. So they're both really nice, but on top of that, it's also going to give you a stack of Seething Fury. So basically, it's going to give you a little bit of upfront poison damage on your enemies, and also leaving a 24-second dot pressure on them as well. So it's a great source of damage, and it's just honestly a great source of just sustained pressure. It's helping you with your Molten Whip stacks as well. So Venomous Claw is a great way to actually have your just damage be increased over time, because the poison the second paragraph right there is the poison seeps into the target and deals increased damage the longer it lasts, dealing 12% more damage every 2 seconds. So it is a pretty nice ability, and like over time it does get stronger, so make sure you have this on your enemies because it's going to get stronger as time goes on. So Venomous Claw isn't really a bad ability, it's just I'm used to using my other ones really. And then Noxious Breath, this is going to be your source of major breach on your enemies, so it's going to reduce their physical and spell resistance by 6k. Also, it's a nice little bit of upfront pressure because it's an AoE, and on top of that, it gets a nice little dot on them as well. So Noxious Breath is, in my opinion, one of the best skills on this build. And then we've got Take Flight on here. It's a very cheap ultimate, and it does a lot of damage. Honestly, when you're using Take Flight, just make sure you have Noxious on them, and then just go to town. When you have Major Breach, your Take Flight hits so hard. It's a great sort of burst damage. If you can especially hit Take Flight into a 3-stack Molten Whip, you are chef's kiss doing damage. And then back bar, our skills are going to be Igneous Weapon, so it's going to be your source of Major Brutality and Sorcery. So that's going to increase your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 1.2 minutes, which is a very long time. And then Race Against Time, this is going to be your source of Major Expedition and Minor Force, so it's going to increase your movement speed by 30%, it's going to increase your critical damage by 10%, so that's great for your overall damage and movement. And then also, on top of that, it's going to be removing all snares and immobilizations to you for 4 seconds, and it's going to grant you immunity for them, so it's your nice snare removal as well. Also, Resolving Vigor, this is a nice 5-second heal over time that's going to help you get right back up to full health. This is ticking so hard when your Daedric Trickery is giving you Major Mending. You are healing so much with this, and it's a great sort of just way to get your health right back up to full. And on top of that, you're going to be getting Minor Resolve, so it's going to increase your physical and spell resistance by 3k. And then Coagulating Blood, this is going to be your burst heal. So if you need to get right back up to full health, you hit this ability and you are back up to full. It is a crazy strong heal, and I really like it. It's definitely one of the best heals in the game, in my opinion. And stacking that with Resolving Vigor, when you, especially if you have those healing buffs on from Daedric Trickery, you are healing so much. Also, Hardened Armor, I like this morph because this gives you a little bit of a shield on top of it, but most of all, it's going to give you your source of Major Resolve, so it's going to increase your physical and spell resistance by 6k. So also, you're going to be getting a damage shield that absorbs 5,100 damage for 6 seconds, so that's great for your overall damage mitigation as well. Having that shield is a great way to just, when you're weaving your Resolving Vigor and your Coag, hit your Hardened Armor on the top of that, and that really helps mitigate a lot of damage with that mid-little shield as well. And then I've got Magma Shell on this build because I like Corrosive. Corrosive is amazing for your damage, but this morph doesn't really have it so that you don't get ult gen at all. When you're in Corrosive, you don't get ult gen at all, and that really messes with your sustain a lot. But Magma Shell, on the other hand, you still get ult while in it. You're not doing the same amount of damage in Corrosive. It's going to limit your incoming damage to 3% of your max health, and it's also going to deal a little bit of flame damage every second for 12 seconds. So that's awesome, but really what's important is that this build does damage on its own, so I don't really need to be having Corrosive to just get that little bit of difference in damage. The build does do damage with Kind Marchers, so being in Magma Shell, that just makes us really tanky, and that makes it so that we can go really offensive for those 12 seconds and not need to worry about our buffs really, or just healing, because we're really tanky inside of that. And that is the entire build, guys. I hope that you enjoyed. I know that I go on little rambling tangents sometimes, but I do appreciate you guys being here. Again, we do have that brand new YouTube channel, which I have Battlegrounds on. If you want to go subscribe to that, that will be in the link in the description. I would highly appreciate all of you guys going over there and subbing to it. It takes 2 seconds out of your day, and it really makes my day huge. Like, it makes my day, and it just makes me really happy. I appreciate it. But, guys, I could ramble a little bit more, but I'm not going to. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.